regular Joe.
And from the WTKN studios in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, it's the Regular Joe Show. The Regular Joe Show is brought to you by the Lake Agency. Auto, home, life, residential, commercial. Call the Lake Agency for all of your insurance needs. They are conveniently located off of Bypass 17 North in Surfside. Give them a call at 843-685-9073. And Pizza 501, authentic New York-style pizza right here in the heart of the Grand Strand. Located in the Food Line Shopping Center on 501. Try Pizza 501 for some truly authentic Italian pizza and pasta dishes. Give them a call at 843-347-0805. And Miss Chris Ghost Tours on Murrells Inlet Marsh Walk. If you like the lore and legends of Murrells Inlet, this is a tour you don't want to miss. Tour runs from March to November. Call Miss Chris at 843-655-4470 to reserve your spot now. I am Dominic Santoro. I am the Average Joe, along with
David Hucks, the Regular Joe.
Hey, and it's the Above Average Joe, right? That was my name.
You are the Above Average Joe.
Yeah,
You're back.
Yeah, how y'all doing?
I hope Lou feels better.
Lou is very sick.
Yeah, I figured that. Lou doesn't like missing a day of work.
Guess what he's got? They don't know.
They don't know.
No. It is an
That's the
upper
worst
respiratory problem.
Oh,
he's been to the ER.
Ouch.
I said, what do you have? They don't know.
Yeah, they don't know is one of the worst diseases you can come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know why they don't know? Because his insurance is probably top notch.
Don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. I know
Well,
nothing.
with us in the studio today, we have Charlene Dougherty. You work with to try and stop human trafficking here in the Grand Strand.
Yes.
Now, David and I had this conversation before. Human trafficking in this area is high.
Extremely.
And I still can't figure out why it's that high. And the funny thing is, and I started noticing this since I spoke to you last week for you to get on the show, you stop in any restroom, whether it be a hotel, a gas station, a restaurant, and there's always that sign on the back of the door. If you are part of human trafficking, please call. Or if you know somebody who is being, trafficked or whatever, and it gives you an 800 number to call.
Right.
Is it that bad of a... Is it rampant down here to that point?
Well, it is, but those posters, that's our goal, is to create the awareness and get those posters out there.
Right.
So I'm a Rotarian, and this is a new initiative, Rotarians Against Human Trafficking. And we are working with the State Attorney General's office, following his guidelines. And
that would be Alan Wilson, right?
Alan Wilson.
Right.
And the Coastal Regional Human Trafficking Task Force, which is the task force for Horry and Georgetown counties. So the goal is to create as much awareness as possible to prevent trafficking, so that people know what the signs are of trafficking,
right,
and can call when they see something. So that's... The more posters we get out there, that's one of the initiatives.
How did you get involved in the organization?
Okay, so I joined the Rotary a couple years ago, and I don't know if you know what the Rotary is.
Explain.
So the Rotary is an international network of volunteers, like 1.4 million people in the world, that their motto is service above self. So we want to make change in communities. So we're volunteers, and I got involved a couple years ago, and I was the youth liaison, youth chair.
Okay.
And last year, a new initiative, we had gone to a district conference, and there was a woman who was dressed as Superwoman, using her superpowers, saying she was trying to come up with superpowers to stop human trafficking, and she was in Virginia and has a global Rotarian
so she has a
outreach.
large presence.
Yes. So after we saw her speak, we decided, hey, let's do something local here just to create, awareness to human trafficking. And we thought it was going to be a one-time little project.
And it's expanded to almost like every week.
It really expanded because that one event that we did was a speakeasy themed, and since I work at 3001, and we wanted to do a fundraiser for, last year was the 90th anniversary of the end of Prohibition.
I believe Brian had a story on that. Yes,
yes,
he did.
He came to that. So
What did he go dressed as? Not to get off the subject.
probably a 1920s gangster.
He did.
kind of
Okay.
thing.
All right.
Yeah.
He took my advice. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was going to be just our one initial event.
Right.
But once we did that, we had over 400 attend, and we got some media attention with
Sure.
it.
I'm sure you did.
And the event itself was an awareness event.
Right.
We just intended it to be a one-time little fundraiser. But to do that, we connected ourselves with Engaging Minds, which is a local nonprofit that
Right.
serves the victims, and had them in for speakers, connected with the Horry County Sheriff's Office to get their victim services people lined up, and Captain Sherry Smith to get people lined up to come speak at that event. And from that point forward, it just grew.
It grew and grew and grew.
And instead of just being a local event, our Rotary District governor asked me to take this district-wide, and our Rotary District covers North Carolina down to the Low Country over to Columbia. So we have 77 clubs in that area. So what we've been trying to do now is that doesn't cover just coastal regional or Georgetown County. There's 9 different task force in our district and 77 clubs and
Okay.
different resources, nonprofits and victims to serve.
So by no means are you small. This is...
It's growing, so we're covering the whole eastern South Carolina.
David, let me ask you this. You've been here your whole life. Has this gotten this much attention as it did in the past as it's getting now?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, Horry County has exploded. We've
Yeah.
grown so
Yeah.
much. Number two, sadly, human trafficking has become a huge moneymaker.
Yeah.
Because you can sell cocaine or you can sell fentanyl once.
Yeah.
Fentanyl, you sell it once, your client's probably dead.
Right.
But the fact is these gangsters, I'll call them that, these
There's no other word for it. Gangsters. I mean,
They can
they're
sell-
kidnappers. I mean, they're kidnappers.
They can sell these people time and time
again.
again. They make more
Yes.
money for them than drugs, alcohol, or anything. And sadly, people who are trapped in that in human trafficking live in the shadows. And I'm so glad you're doing something to bring them out of the shadows, because oftentimes these are underage people, as
Right.
well as you well know.
They're kids. They're like
They're kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's shocking to me. I mean, as young as 7 or 8, and up to 40s and 50s, even 60s. I mean, what are if I'm sitting in a restaurant, what are the signs I should look for if I think somebody's in trouble?
Well, there's a lot of signs. Of course, there's the physical ones. They look like they're
They look like hell.
yeah,
They beat up,
physical
black and
signs.
blue, right?
But if they look like they're being controlled by others, they can't talk for themselves. They're escorted all the time. You can see that they're being watched over. They don't have a passport or other forms of ID. They don't have control of their own money or cell phone. They don't look like they know where they live.
They're always in a
not
daze.
familiar.
Yeah.
And they're holding their head down and not making eye contact.
More for being ashamed
Yeah.
or something, that they're in a situation that, right.
They don't want to attract attention.
If somebody suspects that, is there a number they should call?
There
Or-
is. There's the 888 number.
What's that number?
888-373-7888. And that's the state's hotline. So the more calls they get into that,
Right.
that's our goal, is to increase the number of calls into that, because then we know we're creating awareness that
Now,
the signs are getting out there.
I don't know if you can answer this question or not. Somebody reports it, and this person is going to end up leaving the restaurant station they're at or wherever they're going, and they have somewhere to go. By the time the cops get there, they're going to be gone. We got to take a commercial break. When we come back, I want you to answer that question, because that's what people are going to say. What's the sense of calling when they know they're going to be gone by the time the police get here? We'll be back on the Regular Joe Show right after this.
So
And we're back here at the Regular Joe Show with Charlene Dougherty. Before the break, I asked you if somebody suspects, call that number, but sometimes people don't call because they know by the time the police get here, they're going to be gone. Explain what you explained to me during the break to our listeners.
okay, so the first thing the toll-free number is just a number to track how many calls, what's going on. So you should give as much information as possible so that it can be researched.
Okay.
Take pictures of the car if you see them going away, the license plate number, as descriptions of the persons, so that
Right.
it can be investigated. They don't want you to intervene. It could put yourself
In harm's way. Yeah, you could get hurt. Right.
Or the victim in
Right.
harm's way. They want you just observe, tell them what, where, when, and give information. If you think you can get the local police, still call 911 too, but also, still get it on the database, because the awareness, the number of calls that go into the hotline
Right.
is how they keep track. It's been a relatively low number in the last few years. So the more calls into the hotline, the more victims can be saved, and of course, hopefully more arrests.
So
But,
basically, it's
yeah.
just like if you see something,
say something. And,
always.
And we have key fobs out there. See something, say something, that we're really trying to get everybody.
She's looking for a key fob.
I was looking for my key fob.
She's looking for a key fob.
Yeah.
But I
So-
mean, that's good. Now, you had mentioned you had the local police and the entire Rotary was involved. Do you guys get any money from any local organizations or any federal?
We do not. So it's just from fundraisers.
Fundraising.
We will eventually try to get some grants. But this is all still so much in the beginning, as we're trying to take it district-wide, that we're still doing our research to get all the different pieces together. We've got a newsletter going on where we're trying to, as a platform, to connect law enforcement with nonprofits, with Rotarians. We're trying to train facilitators to go out and talk to our Rotary clubs.
Right.
So, because Rotarians have a great networking
Well,
ability.
from what you said, your
Yeah.
network is extremely large.
Yes.
Right.
So the more Rotarians that get involved and are out there, getting the word out to at exhibits, fairs and festivals, disseminating information. We did a awareness night at J. Brian Floyd in North Myrtle Beach last week. Had the task force present there, and we had maybe about 15 or 20 high school students come to that, because the task force isn't allowed to go into Horry County schools to teach the kids prevention. So we thought we would take the kids.
Why is that? I mean, I can't understand that. Why is that they're not allowed into the schools to teach these kids prevention on it?
Talk to Horry County schools.
It's politics. Let's be honest. We all know it's
I
politics.
know it's politics.
Yeah.
It's
And
like, what's in it
so-
for me?
Yeah. What I want to know, the government is currently and has been working on a database of these traffickers. Do y'all interact with those people? The database is it's growing, and they're adding in new names to it constantly. Are you overly familiar with the database?
I am not familiar with that.
Yeah.
But what I do know is one of the things that we helped fund with the funds we raised last year was an app for the Coastal Regional Human Trafficking Task Force.
Right.
And it's now available to the public. It educates you. It has all the awareness signs. It has a contact if you see something to let connects right with them for the tips. Law enforcement can also use that app. They have a separate login with their IDs. So everybody should be carrying that app on them.
But
see someone punch right in.
But you know what the funny thing is? You think somebody at Apple or somebody out there would come up with an app that if somebody is about to get abducted, just on your phone, just hit something that would say I'm being kidnapped. I'm being abducted. I mean,
That would be
Yeah.
brilliant.
that would be
Well,
brilliant. If
Similar to the suicide hotline. We were Ryan, a guy I do a show with. We're sitting around a fire one night, having a cigar and talking, and there was a bug flying around the fire, and the bug dove into the fire, and I said,
suicide.
and I'm sorry, Ryan said, "Man, that bug really wanted to die." His Apple Watch said, "Should I contact the suicide hotline? There is help out there." It came out of
That's-
nowhere just because he talked about death. My
Wow.
surprise is that you're not receiving any funds except through fundraising, and this seems like instead of measuring the methane gas out of cows, we could be designating that money
So
to
true.
something like you,
Well,
and
we-
what you're doing.
Exactly.
We plan to apply for grants and funding. We're still trying to organize ourselves to be able to do that. This is like so new.
And then what other fundraisers do you? I know you all sell Vidalia onions every year. That if you need
Are you
Vidalia
serious?
onions,
Are
yeah,
you-
the Rotary does have a Vidalia onion drive every year.
That's not part of my Rotary.
Oh,
No
okay.
kidding. Okay.
All right.
Each club has their own initiatives.
Okay.
But
Well, what other fundraisers do you all have that we could maybe get in on and help out with?
well, they had
Answer my next question.
There's a lot of food drives. There are food literacy is a big one. Scholarships, beach and renourishment. Landscape kind of projects.
Okay.
Okay.
Say, environmental is where it's at. But feeding, literacy, education, books, school supplies.
Yeah.
That I'm sure that would be a big thing. And the funny thing is, I can't understand why some of these people. I mean, I don't want to say if a person is being targeted, what can they pick up on if they know they're not being targeted? What are some signs that they should look for?
The physical ones, the ones that we talked about.
Right.
Labor trafficking is really big here. So labor trafficking is a whole different. Everybody thinks of trafficking as sex trafficking,
Sure.
but labor trafficking is really big.
Exactly. But I mean,
So-
it's like somebody sends you a message through Facebook or Instagram. Hey, why don't you meet me over here? I'll buy you an ice cream.
They might not be who
Exactly.
they say they are.
Exactly.
So part of what we had with the awareness night with the kids was, 1 in 5 kids get solicited online.
And don't believe everything
And
you read.
Yes. The person who is on the other side might not be the 14-year-old kid, your friend that you think. It's, a 40-something-year-old who then wants you to send pictures. They say there's a lot of the kids are sending nude photos
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
And then they get coerced and, blackmailed,
Yeah.
threatened
Right.
that they're going to tell their parents they're going to show it, and the kid gets shamed or wants them to meet. So there's a lot of
And the funny thing is, a lot of these people that do that, they know how to use those VPNs, because now when you check a cell phone, everything pings off a tower and everything. That's when you're on the network. But if you're using a VPN that's based in Florida or based in California or based somewhere in Europe, you're not going to find anything. And these guys that do this, that go around kidnapping, it's amazing because I read some of the stories. Oh, the phone, the text pinged off of a tower in England. Well, it's a VPN, obviously. So why are you going to go there and investigate in England? If she was taken here or he was taken here, why are you going to go investigate that? The VPNs need to give up that information, which I think they're fighting not to, because to protect their business. But in a case like this, they need to cooperate.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion on it. I just, but.
The
And
real. I'm sorry,
Well, I
Carol.
was going to say, this is where you really,
Right.
conversations with the Horry County Sheriff's Department
Yes.
and people
Yeah.
that really
Right.
can shed a lot of light
And
on
if-
what they're really.
And the real
ahead.
problem with human trafficking, and Carol, I'm sure you're aware of this now, is the physical network.
Yeah.
So I abduct a kid at a gas station, but I've passed that kid off within 2 hours to someone else.
Yeah.
I'm no longer, that kid's not in my possession any longer. That network can pass this person off 6, 7, 8 times. That's why the database is so critical.
Right, and that's where the word trafficking, they're crossing state lines, city lines.
Absolutely.
So they're,
County
they're
lines.
traveling.
There
Yeah.
is, they
and
have
that's
a,
where it's hard for them to prosecute them.
they have a system, And I always say this is a Davidism. The only way to fix an evil system is to create a good system.
Yeah.
So we're in the process, and I know the government's trying, but people like you come in, you're so critical, you're so vital. They're trying to create a good system.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, government is usually as proactive as it could be. I don't want to just.
I know where you're
just
coming
throw
from.
anyone
Yeah.
under the bus, but
Yeah.
but fortunately, you care. You're in there.
Yeah,
you're
we're
in
just
the fight.
trying to get at it. Really does happen
Because-
here.
yep.
People are blind to that fact. Think,
They're not blind. You know what they are? It can never happen to me. And then when it does, they want everybody in the world to help them. Well, if they, karma is a really bad thing when it comes back to bite you in the rear end. It really, truly is. But if somebody's out there listening, and you could create an app that if somebody's getting abducted, they just, say, I'm getting abducted, and your phone picks it up, they're going to throw that phone away. But you know what? They have a starting point to where the person was taken. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add? Because this
Well,
is...
I don't want to get into the controversial part of this, but being able to track the children as they're being passed from trafficker to trafficker to trafficker is something governments have looked at.
Yeah.
There's controversial because no one wants to put a chip in their kid.
Right.
But no one also wants to get caught in this myriad of, it's an enigma. Once the kid gets in that system,
Yeah,
Dominique,
I know.
they can end up anywhere. And you're
know.
right. It goes from Florida to New York to California, back to South Carolina. It is a network.
Yeah.
It's a human trafficking network. It's a human trafficking network, and therein lies the real problem.
Charlene, thank you for coming in. I mean, if we, we're going to have you back in when you have your friend come back. He's in Florida, you said? He's on vacation?
Well, actually, he's in New Orleans at
Okay.
a conference.
At a conference. So when he comes
yeah.
back, we're going to have you back on the show, and we'll discuss this even more. We'll be back on the Regular Joe Show right after this.
No, I'm not.
And we're back on the Regular Joe Show. That was a lot to take in.
Yes.
And
definitely.
yeah, I mean, again, you see something, say something. Don't turn the blind eye, because the blind eye you turn one day may be your own child or somebody you know.
I love people like Carol that care.
Yeah, Charlene.
I mean, Charlene, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I said Carol, I meant Charlene.
That's okay.
I love Charlene. She cares. You can see.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing in this for her. She's just out trying to.
She's busting a hump, going everywhere,
Yeah,
everywhere
man,
she
you
can.
You gotta love people like that. You just gotta love them.
You have some news.
There's so much in the news. I want to cover a couple of things.
Go ahead, buddy. It's all you.
Number one, with the interest rates being what they are, national home starts, new homes are at a nosedive. However, South Carolina was down 8% last year. We just published this morning. Myrtle Beach, the Myrtle Beach area, which runs from Little River to Pawleys Island back to Conway, kind of Ainerish,
Yep.
up 9%
In sales.
in new home starts, new home
Starts.
builds,
New
new
home builds.
developments.
New developments.
So, guys, there's a phenomenon going on in Horry County.
Yeah.
We've been growing at 24% for the last forever. We haven't stopped.
No.
And even though the building boom has stopped on the national level, hey, Myrtle Beach is exploding. And that leads me into some other stories I want to talk with you
Go
about.
ahead. Go ahead, man. It's all you, brother.
So we last Friday, I've been working with this. I don't know if you readers know or not, but there's a guy named Jim DeMint. He's a conservative. He's with a group called the Heritage Foundation, and I've been connected with them for a while. They are conservative, but anyway, with the Heritage Foundation, they decided they did something really smart. All of these immigrants were coming across the border in Texas, and they were given information in South America and in other places where to go. Go to this NGO. An NGO is a non-governmental organization.
Correct.
Usually it's a church or church-affiliated type thing. They go there, they get a cell phone. First thing they get is a cell phone. So Jim's group said, hey, we'll geo-fence that area. We'll ping those phones, and then we'll follow them for the next year or two of where they go in America.
And nobody thought of that before this.
It was brilliant.
Yes.
So for 2 years I've known this. I've kept my mouth shut very, very, very astuciously. But last Friday they called me up and said, we want to go public with this information. And I begged them. I said, please don't go public. Why not? The public needs to know. Well,
You just blew your cover.
because they went public, I had to go public.
Yeah.
And I published the story last Friday. The title of the article, if you want to go to our website at myrtlebeachsc.com, is follow-up, is Myrtle Beach becoming a sanctuary city? So anyway, after the article went live, and I'm going to give you the statistics on the article, but after it went live, the immigrants began ditching their cell phones, and the Democrats/NGOs been giving them brand new ones, so they can no longer be tracked. So gigs up, but it was good while it lasted, right? I mean, never underestimate a conservative's ability to screw up a good thing.
Yeah.
But here's what the phases were, and I'll just tell you, this was good work. This is the kind of work the government should be doing, but the government's involved.
Yeah, well.
So it's not doing the work. Phase 1, they geofenced the physical locations of these NGOs, where these people would actually cross the border, and somehow they knew to head straight to this NGO place. Now, I'm going to ask our listeners, do you believe 8.5 million people just suddenly, organically decided to cross our border? Or do you believe they were recruited by NGOs in South America working with the Biden administration? You decide.
Khakis?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the second one, of course.
So anyway, they pinged them, they followed them. Guess where 71% of these illegal immigrants were sent to? What kind of cities?
Sanctuary cities.
No, red cities.
Oh, red
cities that vote Republican. Can you believe that nonsense?
So Columbia.
Yeah, well, I mean, Myrtle Beach is one. Horry
Yeah.
County is exploding. We had someone show up at a meeting I was at last night. Very dear friend of mine, great person. The number one new county students,
Yeah.
immigrants.
Right.
The number one nation state that is sending Horry County students. What state would you guess that would be?
I'm not going to answer because you told me, and I mean, I just blew my mind when you said that.
It's the Congo. These people don't even speak a language. They do a click, click, click kind of thing with their voice. They have a clicking language. So our school teachers are having to now spend inordinate amounts of resources, millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire these people
To translate.
to help work with these new students. These are monies that could be spent on U.S. citizens. So we got this story from the mayor of Myrtle Beach. It's all fake news, nothing to see here, they're not here. Guys, here's the deal. Horry County Schools since January has grown by 167 new students.
And that's this past January. That's 3 months ago.
That's 3 months.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately for us, 71% of these people coming into our borders are single males from 19 to 30. If you visit a construction site of, let's say, a key developer in our area, I won't name them.
No,
And
don't.
you go take pictures like we did.
Yep.
You're going to see that their workers are 90% foreigners.
Yep.
That's where your workforce is coming from. And there's 2,000 total new immigrants in the area that goes from Brunswick to Garden City out to Conway. 2,000 new illegals. Now, they say they're illegal. We showed how you can go to New York, and they're doing this. The NGOs
Yes.
are busing them to New York, where they get false papers. They say they lived in a certain area for a certain amount of time. They get driver's licenses.
Yep.
They're allowed to vote.
Yep.
They get citizenship papers.
Yep.
And then they bust them to us. And they say, oh, these people are illegals. The group here locally that is the NGO that's basically spearheading this is called Lutheran Christian Services. And the group they've formed nationally, their national group is New Americans. So the NGOs, and listen, they have Christian names. All of
Yeah.
them do.
Yeah.
The one in New York City was, give me a moment, let me, St. Paul's Episcopal Church.
I
Episcopal
yeah,
Church.
I couldn't know if it was St. Paul's or it was St. Peter, but the Episcopal Church, yeah.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Well organized, well structured, well thought out. The Democrats know how to play offense. All the Republicans know how to do is play defense.
Yep.
We do not know how to do covert operations.
You're right.
Me.
No, you're
We
right.
don't know how to get together, plan something, and beat them to the punch on something. For everything from early ballot harvesting to now registering these people so they can vote in the November election.
We don't even early vote as
We
Republicans.
don't.
No.
Suck at it.
We suck.
Yeah.
Conservatives, I'm one of you. We suck. Let's do something. Let's get organized.
As our friend says, if you don't vote, quit your beaching.
Well, here's the deal. We can't just vote now. We've got to get
Yeah.
people to vote early.
Yes.
And we've got to organize our neighborhoods. The Democrats know how to do this very, very well. Obama taught them. Obama was a world-class community organizer, and he's taken that method and he's put it on steroids through this New America's program.
Yep.
And they're guys, they're going to replace us if we don't get our junk together. The border is wide open, and they're finding every way possible to get these people across into our schools, into our communities. It's just wrong. What they're doing is wrong, and it's well thought out.
And you know what I find amazing? Mexico doesn't want a border wall between the United States and Mexico, but there's a border wall that Mexico put up between Mexico and Guatemala.
Absolutely, we're the only nation in this hemisphere, from Canada all the way down to the tip of whatever, down at the very bottom where you go around to the
Florida
Pacific
Keys.
Ocean.
Oh, okay,
No,
yeah.
all the way down to the Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
We're the only nation with wide open borders.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's desired. And let me just say this to y'all. For those of you who think that the Chamber of Commerce is not behind this and that there's not a push for this, not a desire for it, here's the desire. They can't get J-1 students anymore after COVID.
Right.
The numbers have crashed.
Right.
They need cheap labor.
That's the whole thing.
This is about, folks, this is about cheap labor.
And be careful when you hire that cheap labor to go and work in your house, because a buddy of mine did that back in New York. He hired 2 illegals, picked them up off the street. There's a place they hang out in White Plains. One of them lost his hand while pruning bushes. Do you know he actually sued my buddy?
Sure, because he didn't have his own workman's compensate.
Do you know
Workman's
out of court
compensation.
it cost him $1.2 million?
I can believe that.
This
Yeah.
guy's not even a citizen.
Yep.
And he got an attorney to represent him who shouldn't even be in this country. And he got $1.2 million.
So I'm always kicking the South Carolina legislature. They did something smart. They set aside a large budget, handed it to SLED, and said, hey, the SLED is the State Law Enforcement Division.
Correct.
And they said, hey, SLED, here's this money. Track all the immigrants that come into our state. So I pointed all this out. I pointed this out to SLED itself, to Mark Kill's group. And I said, are you tracking these people?
No.
And they're not going into the schools. They don't take my word for it. But then you've got these people like Brenda Bethune and Chief Amy Prock in Myrtle Beach telling SLED that it's fake news, nothing to see here, no worries. SLED works for a guy named Henry McMaster. He's our governor.
Yep.
Whose word do you think they're going to take? David Huck's journalists, or Brenda Bethune, mayor of Myrtle Beach, or Amy Prock? They're never going to take my word for it. But they won't go in the schools themselves and just do the cursory data.
They won't.
It's crazy. It is an upside down pyramid, folks. And I'm gonna say, if my hair seems on fire right now,
Well,
it's
you're a
because
redhead.
it's on fire. I don't understand how we, as conservatives, continue to allow this to happen.
Because we're too lazy.
We're too fiercely independent
That's
to
the
come
point.
together
Yep.
for a common good and work covertly to change our structures and our systems in Columbia. We should be the ones doing this.
That's David Hucks. We'll be right back on the Regular Joe Show after this. And we're back on the Regular Joe Show this Saturday before Easter. And as you may have noticed, if you're watching the podcast, this is our videographer. His name is Justin Anton. And you have your own business doing videos. You and I have done a couple of things together. I've been doing the interviews. You've been shooting the videos, the spectacular videos. And for those who don't know, David actually gave Justin a little bit of responsibility on the MyrtleBeachSC.com page.
That's right.
What did he give you?
He gave me full access to post content from this podcast and then content that we shoot locally for other businesses.
Do you know why I did that, Dominique?
Sure, I know why, but you got to tell the people
Because
why.
Justin's the man. Justin is the man.
I mean, listen, your video. When I started out doing videos, and I had my own business, and I had a video business. I used to work on Saturdays and stuff, but I was really basically doing weddings, and there was nothing really fancy about videos, and they didn't have drones or anything like they have now. But you have taken videography, and you've added drone footage, which is also videography, but you've used. Everybody knows about Final Cut, Vegas Studio, and stuff like that. You use CapCut. Final Cut edited all the Godfather movies, and Lucas used it to do some Star Wars, and then he used Adobe Premiere and everything else. Mm-hmm. You use all three: CapCut, Final Cut, which will use for your effects. You said you had another one you used.
Adobe After Effects.
Adobe After Effects. Now you have your own company, your own little business. You started. What's the name of the business?
It's called Social Media Productions, or SMP Myrtle Beach, on all social media.
On Facebook?
Facebook, Instagram.
YouTube? Now, if you ever watch the videos we did of the St. Patrick's Day Parade, the video we did of the landscaper, the video we did of the, you didn't do the Pizza 501. We're going to do a video for Miss Chris. We're going to do that. What else have you done personally that you have on your webpage?
It's hard to remember all of it, but
yeah, because you have a lot on there, that's for sure.
Just recently, I did a video actually last night for my gym, Fitness Edge, and just something quick for social media. But that was a lot of fun because it's.
Did you use your camera or you use your phone?
I used my camera.
You used your camera.
Yep.
When we went to the parade, we did an interview with somebody who's running for office. Did you see the video that he shot of that parade?
I thought it was phenomenal.
It's fantastic. Okay.
Well, we embedded it into one article we wrote, and here's the deal. Not only is he good at getting the right shot,
yeah,
he can edit like nobody's business, man.
You don't want to tell him the editing part's the easy part. It's the shooting that's the hard part.
Yeah.
But editing, you got to have the talent for the cut and the timing and everything else when you do the editing. That's the way I had learned it. But if somebody wants to get a hold of you and you're interested in doing a video, how are they going to get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can reach out to me on social media at SMP Myrtle Beach, or they can email me at info@smpmyrtlebeach.com.
I'm going to tell you how good he is. Bless you. I'm going to tell you how good he is, this kid. Dalton Mitchell, who came onto the show last week, who does the Myrtle Beach the amateur golf tour, Heart of a Lion. He was dealing with a company that was out of state, and he was paying like buku bucks every month to get a video done. He basically agreed to have me and Justin do the videos for his golf tournaments and pay us for it. So that is literally your first paying gig as a videographer. You have to be excited about that. Show a little bit of emotion, buddy.
I am excited. I am excited.
Would you mind looking at the camera? I'll make her get a good look at this guy. He's going to be a star. Get your first look.
Get your hair fixed.
That's right.
The guy's going to be a star.
He's really good at what he does, and I'll be honest with you. You have a knack, and that's another fancy word for a talent. But you have a way of doing things with a video camera and drones that I've only seen professionals do. Now, I'm not saying you're going to drop your career as going into marketing because you're going to finish college. I'm going to make sure of that because I don't need your parents coming after me. You're going to finish college, and then what you can actually do with this, with your production company, you could go out and do bigger and better things. Mm-hmm. And one thing I didn't want to mention, I should have mentioned to Charlene, but I didn't. We should try and get a video together for them as a public service announcement. Absolutely. And just do that for them because they are non-for-profit. Mm-hmm. We could do that for them, and that's how you get your name out there. I know you want to work, you want to make the money, you want to bring it in, but you got to remember, slow and steady wins the race. Am I right, David?
Absolutely.
Right?
And let me say this. Justin's got swag.
Oh, he's got more than he's got a lot of swag. This guy,
he's gonna be somebody.
He's a 50 goal scorer. I'm playing on a team that stinks, and he scores 50, 60 goals a year.
And he's a kickbox champion. That's
yes,
what I'm being told.
Yes. Well, you got a girlfriend too, right?
Yeah.
And I really like his CCU hoodie he's got on.
Oh, thanks.
Along with the CCU hat.
Yeah. Well, with the flag on the back of it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not bad, and you're going to go places and. People asked, who's the video guy you have? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? And so here he is. His name's Justin Anton. If you need a video, get a hold of him.
If you want to reach us by news at myrtlebeachsc.com. That's news at myrtlebeachsc.com. We'll be happy to pass anything along to Justin. Hey, guys, you're not going to find a better videographer in the Southeast.
No, you
That's
won't.
facts.
And I'll tell you, you could also go to whattheaveragejoeknows.com, and his videos are on my website as well. You go to the Everyday Joe YouTube page. They're on there as well. But you're going to be pretty good.
Thank you.
You got to be a little more talkative when you get this going, you know?
Yeah.
But he's okay, Mom and Dad. Trust me. I got him under my wing. He's going to be good. You guys enjoy a happy Easter. David, happy Easter.
Hey,
Justin,
man,
happy
enjoy
Easter.
Sunday. Get out to church on Sunday, guys.
And enjoy the weather. It's going to be beautiful. We'll see you guys next week.
Zucchinis, palm trees danced in my